What's good, y'all? It's your girl Tati, and I am back with another review of Dark Side of the Ring. This week, we're talking about FMW, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. And let me say it, you're not going to hear me say martial arts again, maybe one more time. So, this was a really crazy episode because I already knew that they was going to talk about death matches and hardcore matches. I don't mind hardcore matches. Death matches are just not for me. I don't think they're cute whatsoever. At one point I would probably say like it's not wrestling, but I'm not going to tear it down. That's not what this is about. This was a very interesting episode because there was a lot of hardcore legends in this episode, talking about FMW, and it just put things in perspective as to like what kind of started that whole hardcore scene in a way. Japanese wrestling and American style is pretty different. You'll definitely see that in this episode if you do decide to watch it. One thing I can say is if you're gonna watch it, there's gonna be some things you're gonna see that's gonna be like really tough to look at because it wouldn't be Dark Side of the Ring if there wasn't gonna show you like some of the most horrific things that happen with this promotion. So like get ready to see things you probably don't want to see. Like I was like this a lot of the times, like just kind of like looking through my fingers because some of these are just really tough to watch. One interesting facts that I never heard before was Onita talking about how he got into wrestling by seeing it in comic books. I've never heard any other fan tell me that that's how they got into it. Is usually seeing some kind of match or basically you have to watch it to really get into it. And I found that to be pretty interesting that that's how he got into it. Seeing pictures and actually seeing a match is two different things, and it just became a dream of his. He started watching All Japan and New Japan, and those are basically the top two promotions in Japan. And later on, he did get to be in All Japan. I'm not sure about New Japan, if anything. But his time over there, I guess he realized that he wanted to be able to have some of that Western style and infuse that with the Japanese style to give like the audience something different. Basically to stand out, because professional wrestling world, 1 minute in, the next minute you out. Like you have to be able to offer something different to be able to be over with the crowd. So he does leave Japan, and his first stop actually was to go to Dominican Republic. He went there. He was told that he had to put someone else over, and he was like, hell to the no, I'm not putting no one else's over, because basically that person probably wasn't even a better wrestler than him. And yeah, they jumped him real bad, and obviously he couldn't stay. Like he should have let that person go over. Like real talk, you're in a place where you don't speak their language, you've never been there before, you don't know anybody. They could have killed him if anything. That's probably going a little bit too far, but he doesn't know anything over there, so he probably should have just do whatever they told him to do. His pride obviously was in the way. He leaves Dominican Republic and goes to Terry Funk. Now he basically idolizes Terry Funk, and he wanted to meet him, and I guess he wanted to be trained by him or whatnot. And the producers asked Terry, like, what did you think when you first saw him? And he said he thought he was nuts. So Terry Funk calling someone else nuts like that shows you a lot. Like he must have been really crazy. Terry helps him out, buy him a car, help him find a job. And later on he's in Memphis, and he's wrestling out there, and you guys know about the Memphis territory. So he was really in a good territory to get some experience. He ended up having this match that becomes so infamous where they're fighting in the concession stands. And during this match, his like body is over on the concession stand, and a woman kicks him in the face with her heels. And he's like, blood was just gushing everywhere from his nose. And you would think that was like the thing that made him probably not want to wrestle, or just got him really upset. But that didn't even happen. It basically gave him the idea that, hey, people want to see like crazy shit like this. They want to see us fighting outside of the ring. They want to see us doing things that we normally don't do. And that just gave him the idea to do something a little bit out of the box as far as professional wrestling go. So he later on he goes back to Japan, and he goes to All Japan. So he wins this match. Now, guys, this right here is like one of the craziest things they say in this show, because it's really hard to imagine. But he's standing on the ring after his match. He just won, and he's like waving at the crowd, soaking it all in and everything. And he's standing on the ring, and he has to just jump down, like how they always get off the ring unless they take the steps. And he jumps down and he falls down. And it's kind of hard to see this because based on where the camera was, you pretty much see the audience, like the back of their heads and stuff, so you can't really see this injury. But you see him fall down, right? So he jumps down, but he doesn't get back up. And what happened was, he looks down at his leg, and his leg bone is sticking out of his knee. His knee is shattered. He can't move. He can't walk or anything. And everyone's coming out to help him. People from the back, people from the side. Everybody's just coming out to help him. And his leg is broken. And what made it worse in my eyes is how they were carrying him to the back. They were holding his arms, and then they were holding his leg like he didn't just shatter his knee and his bone ain't sticking out. If anything, they possibly could have made it worse by the way they were holding him. So if you do go back and look at this, the way they held him could have possibly made the injury a lot worse. So he couldn't wrestle for years. He had to take up like a regular job like everybody else, and he couldn't be able to wrestle. If anything, he couldn't do things that he normally would have been able to do. Let's just be honest. Like, a lot of wrestlers, they have injuries and they end up coming back, but now they're limited to whatever type of style of wrestling they have, or what kind of things that they can actually do in the ring. And he actually decides to come back, but do this thing where he's fighting martial artists. And this is where the martial arts thing come in with the name or whatnot. So is wrestlers versus martial artists, and it somehow just got over. Two people who's doing two different things in the ring, and people loved it. And that's how it basically took off from there. Me personally, I don't know if that's something that I can enjoy, because wrestling works because wrestlers are against wrestlers. Pretty much that. And basically he has his own promotion, and within this promotion is just, from what I've seen for the rest of the episode, is pretty much wrestling with like hardcore elements in it. Obviously, we never hear about the martial arts thing again from there. But Chris Jericho was there, Mick Foley, Sabu, The Sheik. Who else was over there? As far as American wrestlers go, they were all over there. And it was pretty interesting to see where these guys pretty much got their start from. Terry Funk was already pretty popular in Japan already, so when he actually had a match against Onita, it was this match where he didn't really get into details about what it was. They had like 50,000 people there watching this match, so he know they get in the ring, there's barbed wires and there's things where that makes it, like a death match. However, he doesn't really tell him that the ring is going to explode-ish. So basically, like, there's going to be fire that explodes from the ropes. So they had a match, great match or whatever, and Onita pins him and wins. He wins the match, and he decides that, he's just going to leave. But then a timer starts on the clock, on this little clock thing that comes on the screen. And once it gets to 0, then the ropes are going to explode. And Terry doesn't know this, and he's still on the ring, tired as fuck. I mean, honestly, I don't know if he was in on it, but he said he didn't know. He just knew about everything else that was going on. So what makes this crazy is Onita comes back to the ring. He's slapping Terry, telling him to get his ass up and get out the ring. And Terry is really not moving. And I guess he doesn't really know that, hey, that the ropes are going to explode. So whatever, I could just lay here and catch my breath for a minute. but he only has seconds to do so. And he doesn't know this. So then Onita decides, I'm just going to throw my body on him and just lay on him. So he does that, basically saving Terry Funk from the exploding ring. And the crowd is eating it up. They love it. They're like, wow, he's sacrificing himself for Terry Funk after he just beat him in the ring. That's like perfect way to just get over even more than you already are. And he loved the attention. He was so over. He owned the company. And he was a wrestler, and everyone loved him the same. And he knew that the only way to keep this going was to do crazier things each time to be able to get people to come in. He was saying that on his best year, he made like over $2 million. That is crazy. I'm assuming that's like after paying wrestlers, after paying the employees and all that stuff. He made money. He said he bought a really big house with a lot of rooms that he really didn't need. He had like 5 cars, luxury cars, and he was just basically living the life. There was another match where the ropes was inflamed, and it was a tag team match. I forgot who Onita's partner was, but it was against Sabu and the Sheik. The Sheik is Sabu's uncle, and they kind of underestimate the fire in the ring. Obviously, they want to do something crazy, so lighting up the ropes or however they did this, I guess they thought it was going to slowly burn or whatnot, but it actually happened really quick. So now they're in the middle of the ring because the flame is just too much for them to get too close to the ropes. So they're in the middle, and it was like the fire was causing them to not be able to breathe. It was causing them not to be able to see. So basically they couldn't have a match. And then the people in the audience couldn't see them either because the flames was just huge, and no one could really see anything. And it was dark too. So they were saying how like there was the logo in the middle of the ring was actually burning into their skin because of the heat. And they decided they're just going to split up and just get out the ring, try to get out. So they get out. And I guess they assume that the Sheik is still in the ring because they can't really see, and they didn't really see him get out. So Onita goes back and sees that the Sheik is gone. So he gets out. And then they still carry on with the match outside of the ring now that they're away from the fire. And the Sheik actually has 60% burns all over his body from the fire. Probably when he was trying to get out. So Sabu kept throwing water on him and everything, trying to get him to cool down. He said his skin was just falling off after he threw the water on his back. It was just crazy. And you know what? They worked for them again. Like, these crazy son of a bitches. Like, nothing seemed to have gotten to them. Mick Foley talked about how he had a match after these two ladies had a match. And there was like a flamethrower or something one of the girls did to the other girls. And her clothes was stuck onto her body because of the flames. She was crying and screaming in pain. And Mick basically just had to walk past her and just, you know, act like he didn't hear anything or see anything and just keep that out of his mind so he can do his own thing when he gets out there. You know, these type of things aren't for everybody. And, wow, I mean, can you just imagine you get burned and your clothes is burned onto your skin? That is absolutely crazy. But after 5 years of having this company, he decides that he wants to retire and leave. And he didn't really know who to give the company to take over. And his ring announcer, who's basically there since day one, I guess he decided that, hey, he wants to step up, take up the company. He knows Onita was making a lot of money. He knows that they were successful or whatever, but he doesn't really know the rope. He did hire another wrestler to be able to, you know, be part of the creative team. And to be honest, they just went downhill from there because they weren't able to do what Onita was doing. They had no experience. And on top of that, he wanted to get rid of the death matches, you know, and that's pretty much what made them popular, was those type of style of matches. And he fucked up. He fucked up because he decided to take over something that he thought was just going to bring on all the cash, and it didn't. Because basically he didn't know what he was doing. And he had this approach where there was a wrestler named Hayabusa. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Basically, he wanted him to be the face of the company. and I would say he had the look. He was a master wrestler. He was tall, and he was able to do a lot of things that you probably wouldn't expect a tall wrestler to do. However, he was like a package, but not the total package, and things just wasn't working out. And they showed footage of their show, one of their shows that they were doing after Onita left, and the arena was basically empty. There was hardly anybody there. They pretty much gathered whoever was there to sit in the front to, show like somebody was there, but they didn't really have anybody there. And after some time, they didn't really know what to do. And a year later, Onita decides that he wants to return, but he wants to be heel. So just something that he never really was a heel, because he was always so over with the audience. So I guess he came back, and he had like his ideas of things that he wanted to do, I guess, for himself, and maybe for the promotion itself, since it wasn't really working out. People started coming back to watch because Onita's back, and that's all it really took for him to come back. And if anything, he could have, helped the company flourish without being the owner, but that didn't happen. So what the ring announcer did, who's now the owner, he tells Onita, "Hey, I need you to come in a couple of days, have a little meeting. I just want to show you some tapes." Onita gets there, but when he gets there, is the creative team, Hayabusha's there, and there's a whole bunch of other people there and whatnot. And they basically told him, "Get the fuck out of here. We don't really want you here," whatever. And he said he was surprised by that, because they basically lied to him just to lure him over there, making it seem like this has something to do with the business, but really they just wanted to tell him they didn't want him around. So he left, and they started really pushing Hayabusa to be the base of the company. And then something horrific happens, you guys. I can't even, every time I can't get the image out of my head. But anyway, he's having a match, and I don't think they even mentioned what it was that he was trying to do, but I think he was trying to do a moonsault from the second rope. Okay, he's a tall dude, really tall dude, and honestly, it just seemed like it's something that wouldn't really work for him, especially from the second rope. So I do think it was a moonsault he was going for. And as he's going back, his head just hits the mat really hard, and then he couldn't move. And everybody was just waiting, like the whole audience is quiet. Everybody's quiet, and they're just waiting for him to move. He's not moving. Then a whole bunch of people start getting in the ring. They're trying to get him to move, and unfortunately, that got him to be paralyzed. And that was the last time he was able to ever have a match. He couldn't do anything at all from there. And that really hurt the company, because unfortunately, even recently, like when John Cena was around and WWE was just, he was the face and everybody was just right after him. Sometimes you gotta plan things. You gotta be pushing other people to be able to take the top spot in case if something like this were to happen, or if something wasn't working out with that other wrestler. There has to be other people you have to plan to be able to, take to the spot. And unfortunately, he wasn't even the best that they could possibly have, but they had no other wrestler with star quality in the company. So from there, things went to shit. The company just basically folded, and he was owed a lot of money. He was borrowing money from Yakuzas, and he couldn't pay them back. And that just made things worse. He lost his marriage with his wife, and she took the daughter and left. This is the ring announcer I'm talking about, guys, not Onita. But everything has just crumbled for him, because he just didn't know what to do with the company, wasn't making money. He was taking money from his own family to be able to fund the actual show, because he had nothing. And that's why he lost everything. And he did have a show one night, and I think he was talking to Sabu, and he was like, "I'm going to pay you tomorrow." And instead, he went to the schoolyard and hung himself on a tree. And a lot of people said that he took the coward way out, because since he got Yakuza involved, now that he's dead, they're going to go after his wife and daughter. And they didn't say if they ever was violent towards them, but what they did do was take their house away, and they were not allowed to take anything from the house. So it was just whatever you got on your back and leave. And that was pretty much it. That's what his family had to go through. Who knows how much money he ended up borrowing from them, but unfortunately his family had to pay that way and start over in life after they just literally lost him after he took his life away. The company, they did come back about 10 years later. Onita was, I guess, the owner again. Hayabusa came back as well, but more like a manager type role of the company. And he actually was going through intensive therapy, and he was able to actually walk to the ring one more time before he passed. About a year later, he just collapsed and died around 45, 46-ish. And that's pretty young for you to just collapse. So, I mean, that's just crazy. He was never able to have another match again. But if anything, I'm pretty sure he was proud that he was able to walk to the ring one more time. He was using crutches to help him get to the ring, and got off his wheelchair. And then that's just something very commemorative that he was able to do before he passed. This episode was pretty interesting because if you really think about it, a lot of these guys from FMW kind of paved the way to those that were in ECW, to those that do hardcore matches till this day. And you never really think about it until you get to see where some of these stars come from. Where did they get their feet wet before they got to where they are right now? And this was pretty good. I actually looked up FMW to see if anything came about from it, and it looks like they're trying to start something all over again, or maybe they've already started. I'm gonna look a little bit more into that and see if they have anything going on. But guys, some of these things are so horrific to see, especially when Hayabusa was trying to do whatever he was trying to do and hit his head. It looks scary, and you just know that that's all it took for him to just to be paralyzed. And you guys, this was a pretty good episode. You got dreams, you got to chase them, right? Even if they're crazy, because you never know who's gonna back you up. And as crazy as death matches sound, if to have 50,000 people watching you, making $2 million a year, that's pretty amazing. Just not for me though. Thanks for watching.